what has been the most surprising team that you've seen in the MLB so far a month into the season?
I mean, there's a number of them. Obviously, the first one you think of is going to be the Rays, but I'm actually going to go in a different route here. I'm actually going to go with the Pittsburgh Pirates and the Arizona Diamondbacks leading their respective divisions. Again, I'm not going to sit here and say that it's going to go on for the remainder of the season or that they're actually dominating, which both teams respectively are. Well, one is and one isn't because the Diamondbacks are tied with the Dodgers with a 12 and 11 record. Usually the Diamondbacks are one of the laughing stocks of the NL. Usually the Diamondbacks are not competitive at all, and they're finding ways to win games. And again, they're right now they are tied for first with the Arizona Diamond with the Los Angeles Dodgers for first place. But then you got the Pittsburgh Pirates. They're on an 8-game win streak or 7-game win streak, and they are 8-2 in their last 10. They're 16-7 in front of the Brewers, in front of the Cubs, in front of the Cardinals, and to no surprise, in front of the Reds. But the Cardinals are 9-13. They were supposed to be the favorites to come out of the NL Central, and they are playing horrific baseball. So it's like when you really look at the makeup of this division, Chicago struggled last year. Milwaukee's always going to be up there. Cincinnati is a piss poor organization from top to bottom, but you always expect it to be Milwaukee and St. Louis. And in this case, it's Pittsburgh and Milwaukee. It's probably the biggest surprise for me because you just don't expect it. How Pittsburgh is pitching, how they're able to score runs. I really do believe that they are probably one of the best teams in the MLB at this very moment in time. And how they're doing it is very, very effective. I mean, they're not going out there and they're blowing teams out. But if you look at their recent schedule, they're finding ways to win the core important games. 2-0, 2-1, 4-2, 4-3. They had a blowout win against the Rockies, which again are one of the worst teams in the MLB. 14-3. Then again, you go 5-3, another close game, another blowout to the Rockies, which is again the same exact score, 14-3. They lose a tight one to the Cardinals 5-4, 6-3, 3-0. You get where I'm going with this. Every game, for the most part, outside of those two Rockies games, are within a 2 to 3 run differential, and they're finding ways to win. Whereas last year, they were losing games by an exceptional margin, whether that was getting blown out, whether that was not being able to finish strong. They weren't able to win these close games. And that is why people always say you have to find ways to put the past behind you and deal with what you have. Build your farm system. Don't go out there and make crazy acquisitions. Deal with what you have, build a team, and you will eventually find a way to surface back to the top. The Pirates are a prime example of that this season. Again, it's only the first quarter of the season, if that, because we're talking about what? That they're 16-7. That is 23 games in, so that's not even a quarter of the season. So again, we have a lot of baseball left, but we wanted to talk about this because again, this is just a team that I did not expect to be this good. And again, the Cardinals being in the division, I definitely didn't see that coming. So shout out to Pittsburgh for finding a way to actually be competitive and to be doing what they're doing in a division that has the Brewers and the Cardinals, man. So that's my most surprising team thus far.
Yeah, Kev, for me, it really comes down to two teams. We've already talked about them once a couple weeks ago with the Tampa Bay Rays. Obviously, when you're off to a 19-3 start, I mean, obviously, nobody expected Tampa to be that good. I mean, granted, when you look back to last year, they did make a wild card appearance. They ended up losing to the Guardians in that wild card round last year. But, I mean, when it comes to a hot start, that's an understatement when it comes to the Rays. And, I mean, Kev, as a team, they've already hit damn near 50 home runs. And
Crazy.
like you said, we're not even 25 games into the season. So just offensively, they're getting it done. They already have over 200 hits as a team, which is in the upper echelon of the MLB. And then, Kev, I'm going to be with you 100%. I think the Pirates are right alongside the Rays when it comes to a team that's really just been one of the best spots to look at in the MLB so far. Because when I look at the Pirates, granted, a 16-7 record is an amazing start for Pittsburgh, usually just because when we've looked at Pittsburgh in the past, they're relatively a cellar dweller. This is a team that is usually in fourth or fifth place in the NL Central. And honestly, it's just one of those things that, maybe this is just a sign of it's early in the season. Is this something that the Pirates can build on for the rest of the year? And when we look at what the Pirates have had for their schedule so far this year, they haven't played against the best competition. But, to give credit where it's due, the Pirates have gone against the teams that they've played so far, and they've been playing very well. They've had some good games against the Reds recently. I think they had a 3-game sweep against the Rockies just about a week or two ago. And in some of these games, they're putting up decent runs with their performances. I think I think against the Rockies, I think they scored 14 runs in back-to-back games, or they were at least scoring 10 runs in some of these games. So the offense is definitely showing up. Uh, Statistically speaking, when you compare them to the rest of the MLB, they are middle of the pack when it comes to their total offense. So one of the things that I'm going to pay attention to when it comes to the Pirates is if they can improve their offensive efficiency, they could be able to get their batting average up collectively as a team, because right now they're 13th. They're batting 250 as a team. You compare that to the Rays. The Rays are the best team in the MLB when it comes to total overall batting average. If they could be able to get that up into a top 10 scenario once we reach about the quarter mark of the MLB season, then maybe we could start having a different perspective about the Pirates for the rest of the year. But when it comes to just the start of the year so far, I mean, the Pirates, when you're looking at a situation, they're the top team in the division, damn near 30 games into the season. That's definitely something to note. The same thing goes with the Rays. Obviously, the Rays have the best record in the MLB by a pretty wide margin, but when it comes to both the teams with the Rays and the Pirates, these are definitely the two teams, as far as I see it. These have been the biggest shocks so far. But if I actually had to say who's the biggest surprise so far, I would actually give it to the Pirates, simply just because the Rays, in recent memory, have more playoff experience than the Pirates do. And knowing that the Pirates have been relatively a subpar team over the last couple of years, the fact that they're playing this well this early on, I think there's definitely something to be appreciated when it comes to the Pirates' early success. And honestly, this is something that we're going to have to monitor throughout the first quarter of the season and probably then the first half of the season. Because if they can keep this pace up to where, let's say, they're in first place or they're kind of vying for first place in the division about halfway through the season, I think their outlook will be far better than what it is currently, just because it's still early. There's going to be a lot of adjustments that a lot of these teams are going to make. And who knows? The Pirates could go through a pretty bad slump in May, in June. They had a pretty good April, but there's no guarantee that that could translate over once we start getting into those summer months where it becomes a little bit hotter and, teams can go on huge stretches, teams can fall apart. But as of right now, I'd have to actually give the edge to the Pirates for having the most surprising start to me. And that's despite the fact that the Rays have had a 19-3 start, which is just kind of crazy to put into context. But that's how I see it.